prophet came out 3 years ago and he made a prophecy regarding the breaking of Biafra. He said Nigeria is going to break by itself, that it is not even Nnamdi Kanu that will cause Nigeria to break. A lot of people were thinking that this man is actually telling lie or is making false prophecy and all of that. Now it's finally happening. It was few hours ago. For the first time, Trump cried for the first time. Moment they read the petition and they read all the atrocities of Nigerian government to him, he never believed his eyes, and they read the reason why they detaining Nnamdi Kanu in detention till now. Trump have never heard the name of Nnamdi Kanu before, but it finally happened few hours ago. Now tell me, is it through the handwork of Nnamdi Kanu that Trump finally got his petition on his table? And Trump cried few hours ago moment he heard every of the atrocities and why Nigerian government is actually detaining Nnamdi Kanu. Now Trump is kicking into action now. He said he will sanction Bola Ahmed Tinubu. You will see show for yourself in this very video. Everywhere boss in the White House. I would like us to stay connected to the end of this video. If you can share this video, just do it to share it as you're watching it. Share it to the social media platforms. Let it go viral. And if you can share it, just do it to like it. Like it, give it a thumb up so that it will be recommended for us. Just stay connected. I'll come back again.
Welcome you back to LAJUPOG TV.
I don't have bad news for you today.
The home of religious gossip.
But you should leave the fight for Mohammed.
What is happening in the Christendom? Join now to make sense with LAJUPOG.
Hello my great and wonderful viewers, welcome back to LAJUPOG TV. For those of you coming across this channel for the very first time, just do what to click the registration button appearing on your video screen, and at the same time do what to click the notification bell icon so that whenever we drop a new video in few hours time, YouTube will easily let you to know. The unexpected finally come to Bola Ahmed Tinubu few hours ago because he never expected what happened. It was just a few hours that Trump cried few hours ago, and he never knew that something like that can happen to him today, because it was few hours ago that they brought the petition of what Nigerian government have been doing to Christians. They brought it to the table of Trump and they read out all the atrocities of Nigerian government for the past few years on Christianities and all of that, how they have been terrorizing Christians in Nigeria, and the reason why they detaining Nnamdi Kanu in detention till now. Everywhere boss. Nnamdi Kanu case finally entered into the table of Trump. Trump have never heard about the name Nnamdi Kanu before. A lot of Biafrans have come up with different propagandas right from time that they bringing up the petition of Nnamdi Kanu to the front of Trump and all of that, but Trump have never seen the case of Nnamdi Kanu before. You have never heard about the name before, but Trump finally made mention of Nnamdi Kanu's name moment they brought the petition to his table. It was few hours ago that they're talking about all the atrocities that Tinubu government and the previous administration of Buhari have been doing based on Islamization of Nigeria and all of that. And I say that is not enough. The case of Nnamdi Kanu entered into the cabinet. It entered into the table the same time, and everybody was astonished. They never expected that what Nnamdi Kanu was actually fighting for is what is actually playing out. This is the reason why Nnamdi Kanu was fighting for the liberation of Biafra. Everything played out in the front of Trump few hours ago. So I will play you the full video for you to see everything the way it goes. I would like guys to stay connected to the end of this video. You can share the video, just do it to share it as you're watching it. Share it to the social media platform. Let it go viral. Let a lot of people get to know what is happening as far as Nigeria is concerned, because Tinubu is finally facing sanction in the front of Trump at the moment. And if you can't share the video, just do it to like it. Like it, give it a thumb up so that it will be recommended for us. A lot of Nigerian government have been doing all their shenanigans, their rascalities and everything right from time, even from the regime of Biden. Biden was the former president of US and all of that, but a lot of shenanigans take place in Nigeria and nobody to cry to. Nigerians did not have anybody to cry to. They did not have anybody to run to. But moment Trump enters into power, Nigerians began to run to Trump and telling him about all the atrocities, all the killings, all the shenanigans, all the rascality that have been taking place in their country. Now they're reporting everything. It was few days ago that Natasha Akpoti, the suspended senator in the Alo chamber, went to UN to report Akpabio, the Senate president of Nigeria. She reported Akpabio to the UN and disgraced Akpabio by so doing. And I said that is not enough. Come and see what happened few hours ago. Nobody ever expected the move that happened. Biafrans cannot even explain it because it wasn't orchestrated by Biafrans. Yes, Biafrans are fighting for their own liberation, but they were not the one that actually orchestrated what happened and how the petition of Nnamdi Kanu got to the table of Trump. It wasn't Biafran cabinet that do it. It just happened naturally. And that is reminding us of the prophecy of Prophet Ritabai 3 years ago that Biafrans are going to break, but it's not going to come through Nnamdi Kanu. Yes, Nnamdi Kanu have done his part and they put him in detention and all of that. But is it Nnamdi Kanu that pushed his own petition to the front of Trump few hours ago? Because the same Nnamdi Kanu is in detention, but Trump mention of the name of Nnamdi Kanu moment they read all the atrocities of Nigerian government, how they be puffing a lot people in Nigeria right from time, and nobody is questioning anybody. You will see it for yourself in this video. I'll play the full video. Trump cried few hours ago because he never expected that something like this can be happening in a country under the earth, because Nigeria have turned to something else, and this man is finally taking action according to what he said. You will hear everything he said yourself. He's finally taking action on everything that is being done to Nigerians and what is making them to detain Nnamdi Kanu and putting him in detention for the past few years. Now the question is going to Tinubu. Trump is calling for the sanction of Tinubu at the moment because this man is already taking action after they read all the petition and atrocities of Nigeria government into his ear. Just stay connected. Let me play the full video. I want you to hear things for yourself. You will see it for yourself. I would like us to stay connected to the end of this video. If you can share it, just do it to share it. If you can't share it, just like it. Hear things for yourself. Stay connected. I'm coming back again.
So we must address these fundamental challenges to ensure stabilization and security and prevent violence in the long term. I am also concerned by the state of freedom of religion or belief in Nigeria. However, we need to be careful in our characterization of this complex challenge. Roughly half of the population of Nigeria is Muslim, while the other half is Christian, and violations of this freedom impact both groups. Oversimplistic narratives about the violence perpetuate harmful stereotypes and motivate tensions and violence based on religious identity. On the question of a potential country of particular concern designated for Nigeria, the Trump administration should make a determination based on the criteria provided in the International Religious Freedom Act. But we cannot ignore the other tools in our toolbox, especially foreign assistance, which has been effective at supporting Nigerians with addressing the key drivers of conflict and religious freedom violations. For years, the United States has supported Nigerian institutions, civil society, faith-based leaders, and researchers to address the conflict, violence, and religious freedom challenges. But unfortunately, President Trump has canceled hundreds of millions of dollars in these programs, leaving the United States less equipped to address the topic of today's hearing. Trump canceled all of our peace, democracy, and governance activities worth $74 million. These programs helped improve early response to conflict, bolster the justice system, and facilitate dialogue. He canceled all of our education and economic growth programs, altogether totaling nearly $170 million. These projects were getting at the root cause of conflict and violence across the country. And that's not to mention all of the canceled humanitarian assistance that was helping those who've survived war and conflict. Trump's aid freeze has closed clinics and left over 2 million Nigerians without access to HIV medication. In total, President Trump canceled 54 foreign assistance programs just in Nigeria. Mr. Chair, I request unanimous consent to submit a document listing all paused or terminated programs in Nigeria into the record.
Let me be clear, this is not about climate change. It's about a violent extremist ideology that seeks to eliminate Christianity from Nigeria's northern and central regions. The evidence is undeniable. This is systematic religious violence. The U.S. government must act, and they must act now. Nigeria must be redesignated a country of particular concern. Biden administration's removal of this designation was a reckless mistake that emboldened the very terrorists who are slaughtering Christians. The evidence overwhelmingly meets the legal threshold under the International Religious Freedom Act of 1998, which requires CPC status for governments that engage in or tolerate severe violations of religious freedom. That's exactly what Nigeria's government has done. It has failed to protect all of its citizens from religious violence. The U.S. must impose consequences. Under the International Religious Freedom Act, the President has the authority to take action against CPC-designated nations, including economic penalties. The U.S. should apply targeted sanctions against Nigerian officials who are complicit in religious persecution, as well as suspend certain trade benefits until concrete actions are taken to protect all Nigerians. Religious freedom protection must be tied to U.S.-Nigerian relations. The administration should make it clear that Nigeria's treatment of religious minorities will directly impact diplomatic and economic relations, including trade agreements and security assistance. And finally, the U.S. must reappoint a strong, high-profile ambassador for international religious freedom. During the first Trump administration, this role was used effectively under the leadership of Ambassador Sam Brownback to apply global pressure on persecuting nations. The momentum for that must be regained. In closing, Mr. Chairman, it is time for the United States to send an unmistakable message, to draw a red line. The slaughter of Christians and other religious minorities in Nigeria will not be tolerated. If Nigeria continues to allow terrorists to burn churches, execute pastors, and kidnap schoolgirls with impunity, there must be consequences. This is not just about Nigeria. It is about the future of religious freedom, the stability of Africa, the moral credibility of the United States. If we fail to act, make no mistake about it, this crisis will spread. Refugees will flood into neighboring countries. Terrorists will grow bolder. And America's silence will embolden jihadists worldwide. Chairman Smith, members of the committee, thank you for helping raise awareness of the need to redesignate Nigeria as a country of particular concern. The world is watching, but more importantly, the religious persecution and those who are the victims of that in Nigeria are watching. They're waiting to see if America will stand with them and for them. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, Mr. Perkins, for your testimony and your leadership as well. And your work on the Religious Freedom Commission was legendary. We do have Maureen Ferguson here with us today, who's a commissioner on the Religious Freedom Commission. Dominic Cuzo, who's a pastor from my district, who's very involved with the religious freedom issue. Thank you for being here. And I'd like to just point out David Trimble is here as well from RFI. When I did the bill in 2019, it was a religious freedom, Frank Wolf, we named it after Frank Wolf. Got it passed in the Senate. It was dead in the water on the Senate side, and he did so much to get it passed, and I want to thank him for that, because otherwise it would have been just another House-passed bill, like we all know. It goes over to the Senate, and that's the graveyard of legislation, but I want to thank him for what he did to get that through. I'd like to now recognize, and again, thank him profusely for traveling here, and at great risk. Bishop, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee, for giving me an opportunity. Nigeria and eventually my diocese and the state of Benue have become, in recent years, one of the most dangerous and insecure places for Christians. Christians and Muslims are nearly evenly divided among Nigeria's large population of over 200 million persons. Islamist extremists are fiercely contesting the possession, control, and governing law of the land, especially in the country's northern and central regions, the latter of which is where Benue is located. There are constant ethnic, political, and religious conflicts over land and allegiance. Constitutionally, we are a secularist country, but our unity has been fragile. Political and religious actions and even public speech have been carefully managed to avoid accusations of religious bias and political tensions. Today, the clear influence of Islamist extremists has changed the traditional social dynamics of tribe, ethnicity, religion, and the social status in Nigeria. Because just recently, at the beginning of the Ramadan fast, 12 states in northern Nigeria have declared closed schools so that they attend to this. And you can imagine which other country in the world does that. Saudi Arabia is not doing it. Afghanistan is not doing it. Baghdad is not doing it. But then Nigeria is practicing. What kind of Islam are they practicing? 12 states, and not only Muslims are living in these places. What happens with the educational program or curriculum of the country? But this is what we are going through every day in Nigeria. A long-term Islamic agenda to homogenize the population has been implemented over several presidencies through a strategy to reduce and eventually eliminate the Christian identity of half of the population. This strategy includes both violent and non-violent actions, such as the exclusion of Christians from positions of power and adoption of such church members, the raping of women, the killing and exploitation of Christians, the destruction of churches and farmlands of Christian farmers, followed by the occupation of such lands by the Fulani herders, and also changing the names of these villages. they're taking over the places. So you clearly see an expansionist approach and Islamic, and then they are making the people now flee and leave their villages, and they conquer it. The quest to Islamized the land appears high on the agenda of some of the powerful and influential Muslims in Nigeria. There is a campaign to take land to spread Islam, and there is the hemorrhaging of Christian farmers from the central region of Nigeria and Benue State, and Makurdi Diocese in particular, as they are forced to abandon fertile lands that used to feed the nation, which classify Benue as the food basket of the nation. Militant Fulani herdsmen are terrorists destroying society. They steal and vandalize, they kill and boast about it. They kidnap and rape, and they enjoy total impunity from the elected authorities. None of them have been arrested and brought to justice. This is supported by the corrupt system in which we operate and the abject poverty among us, which allow the criminals to easily attract more recruits and prey on more victims. Why is this happening? Is it really a religious war? Like in the past, many jihadists are motivated less by religion than by spoils of war and use their religion to impose themselves. In my diocese, the spoils consist mainly of fertile, well-tended land organized around my parishes or so. The jihadists come and adopt and kill the priests, leaving thousands without support and basic human services. And of course, when they disperse the people, the inhabitants, or the citizens, or the people of the lands, they take over. And any attempt to go back and take care of your farms, surely you get killed. The Makurdi Diocese in Benue State has been the epicenter of the invasion by these herders who are more like hired guns of cattle oligarchies, who manipulate religion to rally the herders to eliminate the Christian population and cleanse the land in the name of Islam. This objective is behind the relentless attacks against Benue's villages. When we call for help to the police and the army, they do not come. At the end of 2024, several villages were warned by the attackers of the upcoming violence, and the leaders called the police for defense ahead of time. But they did not come, and the Christian massacres, almost customary, took place, killing hundreds in Plateau and Benue, with the worst massacre claiming 47 people. The militant also burned down the 8 Catholic churches of St. Mary's Parish in the Diocese of Boko, which in Benue State, as well as the parish house, clinics, schools, and other houses. The militant Fulani herdsmen bear on defenseless villagers without consequences. They follow orders to conquer, kill, and occupy. They attack even those who have managed to escape into our IDP camps. Thereby, they have no place to run to. And it is unfortunate that the police system in Nigeria, orders have to come from above, and such that once there's a call, and they say they have never responded. And by the time they arrive, these people have left, and the people are now living in the pool of their blood. What I have recounted above is happening not only in Benue State. I believe our experience in Benue is symptomatic of what is happening elsewhere in large parts of Nigeria. The experience of the Nigerian Christians today can be summed up as that of a church under Islamist extermination. It is frightening to live there. Apart from the violent campaigns and attacks against Christian villages, there are now attempts by the Islamic Council of Nigeria and various Islamic groups to impose Sharia law on the Christian populations. Already, 12 states in the north of Nigeria are under this sectarian religious law, and attempts to extend the same to the south of Nigeria, which they have started. This month, governors in the north decided appropriately to close all schools and education institutions during the months of Ramadan, leaving millions of students without learning opportunity for 5 weeks. We live in fear because at any point it can be our turn to be killed, but to remain silent is to die twice. So, I have chosen to speak. I speak on behalf of the millions who are in the camps. In Benue State, in Makurdi Diocese alone, in my diocese, I have about 9 camps. 9. On the 5th of March, which was Ash Wednesday, we visited one of the camps, and many of my priests and religious went to the other camps, distributed them to begin the Ash Wednesday with our faithful who are there, because we are the voice of the voiceless. We have to talk for the defenseless. We have to talk about the weak and those who cannot talk about themselves. In one of the camps called the Mega Camp, there were over 3,000 inmates of that camp, and which was a record given to us by government. I speak on behalf of them and those children who have no husband, who have no father, and even their own voices taken away by the politicians who promised to help them but have become the willing tools of the jihadists because they are talking politically correct statements, looking for next elections to come. I speak on behalf of those whose loved ones have been killed, but no one has even offered a word of consolation to them. I speak on behalf of the thousands of young girls who have been adopted and raped because no one, not even the media, mentions them anymore. Foremost, I speak on behalf of my flock who are unable to worship freely and unable to return to their ancestral farms and homes because that land has been ruthlessly taken from them by the armed herdsmen. And where they say they want to live in peace with the natives, if you must farm, you have to pay tax to hire the land which belongs to you. That is slavery, to say the least about it. As prosperous Nigeria is in African continent, and tell you, if there's outbreak of war in Nigeria, no country around us, Chad, Niger, Ghana, Guinea, Togo, no country can contain the population that will flee to these places. No country can be able to house over 5 million refugees. It's not possible because of that. And if 1 million refugees run to Chad and Niger, they'll collapse that country because there'll be no plan to take care of them. So we have to be very careful. Today, I urge you all to use every means within your mandate to start developing a strong and good relationship with Nigeria, where you know that when you speak of human dignity, you are also speaking of the same God-given right you believe is unalienable. Consider that Nigeria can be your ally, but it cannot be one where half the population is in the process of being murderously eliminated. Work with us, the churches, and other Nigerians of goodwill. We are working for a peaceful and prosperous society, and our desperate plight has been set aside U.S. foreign policy for too long, to the cost of thousands of lives. Concretely, I request and I plead, I ask you to redesignate Nigeria as a country of particular concern. This has both a practical and diplomatic meaning to signal that you are paying attention to what happens to us and elsewhere in the world. Because the policies the government is trying to put in place, so that to return the IDPs, build camps for them, relocate them from their homes, it is not durable and it will not work, because the government has already the population that is not able to take care of, and then you have over millions of people in the camps, and you want to relocate them to where? And if you do, let's take that you do, how many houses or rooms will you give me who has 5 children, another one has 3, another one has 2, and what will I be doing for a living? These people previously never begged anybody for food. They were managing their lives, training their children, and building their homes. So nobody should have deceived us on the guys that you're going to resettle the IDPs. They have no jobs. So where you say them, what will be their place? And by the way, the fundamental question remains, if you resettle them to other camps or build places for them, what happens with the ancestral lands? Who takes care of them? And this is whereby I feel the government is complicit on this issue. Because these terrorists, Fulanis, displace them, kill people, and then occupy the place, and then change names, nomenclatures of these towns. For what reason? So we want to let the people go back to their homes and help for them to rebuild their lives. I implore this august body to insist on the return and rehabilitation of all the IDPs to their ancestral lands, and not to relocate them to other constructed camps elsewhere, which is an invented solution now being pushed in the Benue State government. And I tell you, Nigeria government can do that once they have to be accountable. Because I know Nigeria, under the auspices of ECOMOG, was able to reinstate constitutional government in Sierra Leone and Liberia, and they can do that now. We have the capacity, but because the leaders that are not prepared. And I think that's whereby look, it's not just conspiracy of silence, it is aiding, abetting, and supporting these terrorists to keep doing their work.
When the bishop said a moment ago that when they make calls to law enforcement to respond, they don't come. I have heard that over and over and over again, particularly as it relates to the Fulani. But I remember in the early days of Boko Haram, I had Assistant Secretary Johnny Carson testify at several of my hearings, Africa Assistant Secretary, and he just said Boko Haram was a group of bandits. They had no thread of wanting a caliphate, which we found out later they did, that they were not promoting aggressive Islamist views, which they were. And I did indicate in my opening comments that how we tried to get Boko Haram designated as a foreign terrorist organization, and they had even blown up a building that killed some UN types, including an American in Abuja, and all of that was just overlooked. What Johnny Carson said here in this room at that hearing was that all as Boko Haram was trying to do was to embarrass Goodluck Jonathan, then the president. I said, are you kidding me? Embarrass him? How about when they took the Chibok girls, and I met with several of the Chibok girls that escaped. There were a few that escaped, and I met with many of their parents. It had everything to do with turning them into slaves and abusing them horribly and forcing them to change from being Christians. Some were Muslim to begin with, but not many, to a coercive conversion on their part. And that woke up some people here, but not enough. So your point about failure to govern, I brought it up with Buhari many times as well and got nowhere. There was an effort to have a cooperation on the security side. There was a fusion center, as you might know. I visited it, where our military wanted to work side by side with their military to especially use the best and latest means of combating Boko Haram at the time, and they went nowhere. The Leahy Amendment was invoked by our side, so I had a hearing on that. Found out that half of the people that we could have trained would have easily passed muster under the Leahy Amendment. In other words, they didn't have human rights violations attributed to them. But it never happened. It was a great idea, but it went nowhere. So you're right. We need to revisit how do we work together on security. And again, if I call my local police department in Manchester, New Jersey, because a crime has been committed and they don't show up, that is a gross neglect and a gross failure to govern. And that is what, as we know, the Christians are facing each and every day. So I thank you for that. And I thank all of you. Just a couple of quick points, and I'll yield to my distinguished colleagues. In 2016, I should say, I did write the follow-on to Frank Wolf's famous historic law called the International Religious Freedom Act. We put a couple of things in there, entities of particular concern. Boko Haram is on that list, but I do think the Fulani need to be on that list as well, so that's something we should ask the administration to do. We had a designated persons list where individuals are committing egregious violations of human rights. Back in 2004, I was the author of the Belarus Democracy Act. That legislation, which was the first of its kind, and it led to the Magnitsky Act, because I was the sponsor of that. We put that into the NDAA to get it passed. But it said we target individuals, not just the whole country, but individuals who are particularly severe in what they do, with no visa and no ability to engage economically with the United States in any way, shape, or form. My hope is that and I invite you, and I invite anyone who has pertinent information of any particular persons that need to be on that list, so that we can individually sanction them. We've done it in other countries all over the world, started with Belarus, with Lukashenko, but others have been targeted as well. In DR Congo, a lot of Kabylian people were targeted. It's a very effective mechanism to isolate them while we're working on the country itself. So I invite you, any individuals that you think should be on there. And again, I do think that the Fulani ought to be an FTO as well. Not only should they be designated an entity of particular concern, but they need to go onto the foreign terrorist organization list because of what they're doing.
Thank you for staying connected, my great and wonderful viewers. You can see everything that actually happened. You can hear everything that was said in this very video. You know, the prophet Ritabai came out 3 years ago and he made it known to the general public. You know, I replayed the prophecy to you few days ago on this platform. You know, the man made it known that Nnamdi Kanu is not the one that will actually liberate Biafra. There are a lot of people actually putting eyes on Nnamdi Kanu that he will be the liberator of Biafra. But he said, Nnamdi Kanu will not liberate Biafra, but he will just do his part, that Biafra will liberate itself, and Nigeria will separate all by itself. He said, whether we like it or not, Nigeria is going to separate, but it's not going to come through Nnamdi Kanu. And the prophecy of this man that wasn't believed before is already playing into reality, because it was few days ago, Natasha Akpoti, the suspended senator in the Harlow Chamber, went to the UN to report Akpabio, and this have never happened in the history of Nigeria before, that the Senate president is being reported and all of that. And I see that it's not enough. A lot of people are now pointing attention to Nigeria government, that what is happening in the Nigerian government, because a lot of the suffering of Nigerians before, Nigerians have been suffering silently, but the suffering is now getting into international communities. Now international communities are now paying attention to Nigeria at the moment, and I say that's not enough. You can see what a bishop did, the bishop that nobody even know about. Nobody know that this kind of bishop can make all this kind of move. The bishop went to White House and laid a report about all the shenanigans, all the atrocities that Nigerian government have been committing, and how they have been vandalizing Christians in Nigeria. He reported everything. There is not even a big bishop. This is not a bishop that have names like We.Ep, like Adeboye and all of that. Those ones were signing, but this man took it upon himself. He risked his life and he went there. You can hear everything that this man said. He reported all the killings, all the way they have been poofing people in the Christendom, trying to Islamize Nigeria and all of that. He reported everything. He made it known that over 55,000 Christians have been poofed all over in Nigeria. You can hear everything that this man said. You know, this same thing is what Nnamdi Kanu is actually fighting for, because let us make a clear analysis. If we should remove the eastern part of Nigeria, we remove the northern part of Nigeria, and we remove the southern part of Nigeria, if we should compare it, the southeast is having the highest number of Christians in Nigeria. If the Igbos or the Biafran should separate from Nigeria, I'm telling you, if the Biafran people have been separated from Nigeria, the remaining regions of Nigeria, or the remaining population, Muslims will be dominating. Muslims will be dominating every other region. Nigeria will be Islamized immediately. It is only the fact that Igbos are in Nigeria now. That's why Nigeria is still called a country of multiple religion. That there's Christian, there's Islam, and all of that. But the moment Igbo leave, because the Igbos are the main Christians in Nigeria, they are occupying the larger number of Christians in Nigeria, because a lot of Igbos, hardly will you find an Igbo that is a Muslim. Most of the Igbos are Christian now. Assuming the Igbo leaves, Nigeria will turn to an Islamic state, and nothing will be done about it, because they're trying to Islamize Nigeria by all means. They're doing everything possible with their laws, directly and indirectly, and they're doing a lot of things just to ensure that they Islamize Nigeria. Those are the words of the man in this very video. He made it known, and you know, US is a Christian country, and they never want to hear anything about the fact that they try to Islamize a country that is not an Islamic country and all of that. The moment Muslim tickets set in, we already know that there is trouble in the Christendom already. Now, look at what is playing out. They went for Muslim fasting, and I see that it's not enough. That Muslim fasting, they shut down all the schools in the northern part of Nigeria. Now tell me, is it only Muslims that are in the northern part of Nigeria? Are they not Christians in the northern part of Nigeria? Now, they shut down all the schools. For 5 weeks, no children should go to school, no students should go to school, just because Muslims are fasting. This have never happened in any country before. This have never happened even in Nigeria before. But the moment Muslim tickets set in, a lot of irregularities begin to happen. A lot of Sharia laws are now setting in Nigeria, and they forget that Nigeria is not an Islamic country. Nigeria is a Christian country. Now they're trying to do everything possible to silence the Christians in Nigeria, and that is why that man rushed to US to make the report and complain that after poofing a lot of Christians, after doing everything possible to burn a lot of churches in Nigeria, that the Boko Haram, the ISWAP, and other terrorist group, they are still doing everything possible to ensure that they Islamize Nigeria with the help of Nigerian politicians and Nigerian leaders. Those are what the man said in this very video, and you can hear what that US man is actually saying in the US Congress. The US man made it known that everything that the man said is true, that he had been seeing petition upon petition upon petition right from time regarding all these things. And they said after the terrorists go to different churches to poof a lot of people, to poof a lot of Christians, they will call the security operative, but the security operative will not show up. Nigeria security operative will never show up. That was what the man said. And as if that's not enough, the petition of this man was accepted, and they made it known that what this man is saying regarding how they're trying to Islamize Nigeria, that is what Nnamdi Kanu was actually fighting for before they arrested him and put him in detention. The same thing that this man is talking about was what Nnamdi Kanu was saying, and Nnamdi Kanu have been fighting for this same cause. Now, it never get to the US president, it never get to the United Nations and all of that, but moment Nnamdi Kanu is in detention, the news begin to fly around, and I see that's not enough. They're calling for the sanction of Tinubu. Now, drop up in the comment section of this video regarding everything that was said in this very video, as I'm gonna get and that turn for you and share. Follow me on my social media handles on Facebook at LAJUPOG TV and LAJUPOG Entertainment, and on Instagram at LAJUPOG. Guess what, guys? See you in my next video. Bye for now.
I see the hot for my body, I say make I yarn you. Religious gossip plenty day for body. Pastor with the line on top, be pastor. For LAJUPOG Watch TV. Pastor with the back, where? Politician with the do pass himself. All the while you waiting for church. All as LAJUPOG Watch TV.